Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to discuss about the chapter Nicobobinus written by Terry Jones. Before going to the text, I would like to say some words about the author. Terry Jones was a Welsh author, means he was a British author, and he had versatile genius. He was not only an author, but he was also an actor, a comedian, a story writer, and a filmmaker, and a historian, and whatnot. And so he wrote this novel. It is an adventure story. Now about Nicobobinus. Nicobobinus was a very extraordinary boy who could do anything according to the author, and he goes for the adventure to the land of dragons with his friend Rosie. And on the way they meet various they face various troubles caused by the golden man, the murderous monks, and a band of pirates. So here in your text there are two chapters of the novel, the story of Nicobobinus, which we are going to read now. In this class I will read the first chapter and explain it line by line, and in the next class tomorrow I will discuss the second chapter. So let's begin. This is the story of the most extraordinary child who ever stuck his tongue out at Prime Minister. So Nicobobinus was an extraordinary child. The story revolves around him, and the author has said that whoever stuck his tongue out at the Prime Minister, means he can do anything. He can stuck his tongue out at the Prime Minister at any time. মিন্স মানে বাংলায় বলে যে প্রধানমন্ত্রীকেও যখন খুশি সে ভেঙচি কেটে দিতে পারে, এরকম মানে যা খুশি করতে পারে. So his name was Nicobobinus. He lived a long time ago in a city called Venice, which is in Italy, and he could do anything. Of course, not everybody knew he could do anything, but everybody didn't knew that. Who knew that? In fact, only his best friend Rosie knew. His best friend was Rosie. She knew that Nicobobinus had extraordinary power, and nobody took any notice of anything Rosie said. But Rosie had always some wild idea in her head, so nobody took her seriously. Her words seriously. So nobody took any notice, he says, because she was always having wild ideas anyway. What I have said. One day, for example, Rosie said, Nicobobinus, let's pull up every single weed on your doorstep. So this is the example. One day that Rosie said, Nicobobinus, what? Let's pull every single weed on your doorstep. Weed means the plants that are of no use. So they want to pull up them. She wants to pull up them at the doorstep of Nicobobinus. But Nicobobinus thought it a useless work, so he said, let's not, said Nicobobinus, which is what Rosie thought he would say. Rosie knew that Nicobobinus will say the same thing, that they will not do that stuff. In that case, replied Rosie, let's discover the land of dragons. So Rosie said that in that case, if they don't pull up the wheat, then they will definitely go for to discover the land of dragons. So Nicobobinus was shocked and surprised both. He said, don't be daft. What is the meaning of daft? Daft means foolish. Foolish, stupid, or silly. Don't be silly, said Nicobobinus. How can we do that? How can they do that? That they do go for the land of dragons, go to the land of dragons? Because you can do anything, said Rosie. So Rosie believed that Nicobobinus could do anything. So she said that because you can do anything. So the next morning, just it was getting light, Rosie threw little pebbles up at Nicobobinus's shutters. So you can see that Rosie had wild idea to go for an adventure to the land of dragons, and she took it very seriously. So next morning at the very at the break of the dawn, she came to Nicobobinus's house when Nicobobinus was sleeping, and she threw pebbles at the shutters of his windows so that Nicobobinus wakes up. Nicobobinus was still half asleep when he looked out. Nicobobulus was half awake when he heard the pebbles striking the shutters, and he looked out. Who was there to do that? "What's the matter, Rosie?" he asked. He saw Rosie there, and he asked her what the matter was. "Shh!" whispered Rosie. "I have got the buns and the lemonade." Rosie said in a low voice that she had brought some buns and lemonade with her. Nicobobinus was surprised. "What for?" Supplies for the road, whispered Rosie. Rosie said these were the supplies for the road. Means they would go for an adventure, and on the way they would be hungry. So what would they eat? They would eat buns and lemonade. So she brought them with her. "Where are we going?" asked Nicobobinus. "We are going to find the land of dragons," whispered Rosie. "Don't you remember?" She reminding him that yesterday she told him that that they would be going to discover the land of dragons, and she took it very seriously, and so she has come here to take him with her. Now let's go to the next page. "Oh, I thought you might have forgotten about that," said Nicobobinus. Nicobobinus said that he thought that Rosie had forgotten about that. "No fear," said Rosie. "It's one of the best ideas you have ever had." Rosie said that it is not to be afraid, because she thought that it was the best idea one can ever have. So, what about the wedding?" said Nicobobinus. Nicobobinus tried to now alter her attention to a different matter so that she forgets about going to visit the land of dragons. So he suggested her to go for the wedding. But Rosie is Rosie. She will go. So she said that, "Come on." So they set off through the early morning town. So they started their journey in the early morning. When they got to the end of the narrow street where they lived beside a narrow street. So when they were about to leave the street, at the end of the street, they met a night watchman. Who said, "Where are you two going at this hour?" He inquired them that where they were going. "We are going to look for the land of dragons," said Nicobobinus. Nicobobinus answered that they were going to the land of dragons. "You can't do that at this time of the morning," said the night watchman. Night watchman said that at this time of morning they can't go alone because they too were kids. But before he could grab them, Rosie and Nicobobinus were sprinting away as fast as they could. Because before night watchman could catch them, they ran away. Sprinting away means ran away very fast. Okay, now next, and they didn't stop running until they had crossed 3 bridges. They kept running until they crossed 3 bridges and tripped over a dog that was lying asleep under a garden wall. There was a big garden wall, and very tall garden wall, and the dog was asleep there, and when they ran, they tripped over the dog, means they stumbled at the dog. Rosie's bottle of lemonade smashed against the wall. They were in a motion, so her bottle of lemonade smashed against the wall. The bottle of lemonade hit the wall and was spoiled. And the dog leapt to its feet, barking as if it had thought dog's doomsday had arrived. The dog behaved such a way. He began to jump on its feet and barking in such a way that as if he is going to die. Dog's doomsday. Doomsday means the day, the final day. Final day of the dog, that is doomsday. Actually, it is believed that there will be a doomsday when human beings will be abolished from this, what can I say, human beings will be destroyed from this earth. They will be abolished from this world. And the dogs doomsday means the dogs will be um, abolished from this world, leaving um, no remains. Okay, so this is called dog's doomsday, means dog's final day, as if he is going to die. So he was behaving such a way. For a moment, they were sure it was going to bite them. For a moment, they were sure that the dog will bite them. But then it noticed two buns. Suddenly, the dog noticed that two buns had fallen into the gutter. Okay, had rolled into the gutter and it wolfed them down. So the dog's attention was diverted to the buns from them, and he wolfed them down. Wolfed them down means eat them up aggressively, as fast as he could, and barked thank you. Then he thanked them. Then he showed his gratitude to them and ran off to tell its friends. Then he ran to tell its friends. We are not going to get far without supplies, said Rosie gloomily. Rosie was very disappointed. So he said that we can't go very far without any food because we will feel hungry. I wonder if I could pick a few of those, said Nicobobinus, gazing up at an apple tree on the other side of the garden wall. On the other side of the garden wall, there was an apple tree from which apples were hanging. So the Nicobobinus thought to have some apple from them and take them with them on their journey. Of course you can, said Rosie. Stand on my shoulders. Rosie said, okay, stand on my shoulders and cross the wall of the garden and get some apples. So Nicobobinus stood on Rosie's shoulders and climbed onto the wall. But tree was further away that he thought. But he saw that the tree was not very near. It was further away. As he reached out, he lost his balance. When he crossed the wall and reached out the other side of the wall, he lost his balance and fell on the ground with a crash, down into the most magnificent garden he had ever been in. He saw the garden. It was the most beautiful garden he ever saw. Nicobobinus looked back up at the high wall, but there was no way he could climb back. He looked back to the wall and he thought if he could climb back the wall, but alas, the wall was very high and it was not easy to climb it back. What am I going to do? He yelled. He cried in a high voice that now helplessly that what he was going to do then. You will think of something, Rosie yelled back. Rosie replied him in a high tone that Nicobobinus can make it out, crossing her fingers very hard. Why she was crossing her fingers very hard? Crossing her fingers means she's hoping for the best. "Whoa," said a voice behind Nicobobinus. Someone came behind Nicobobinus and said, "Way." So Nicobobinus didn't stop to look who it was. Nicobobinus was very afraid and he didn't look back to have a look on that man, and he ran straight into a tree. And he ran straight into a tree. And there was no way after it. "Got you," said the voice, and Nicobobinus felt 5 thick fingers on his neck. Nicobobinus felt 5 thick fingers on his neck means that man had caught him on his neck, by his neck. "Oh," said Nicobobinus. "I have been waiting for you," said the voice. The voice said that I was waiting for you. And Nicobobinus felt 5 more thick fingers round his wrist. Now he hold him by his wrist. But Nicobobinus, instead of trying to run away, Nicobobinus didn't try to run away. He doubled himself up and went backward as fast as could. He went backward in a double speed. So the man's legs were knocked from under him. So the man's legs had a hit under him and he landed in a pile of leaves. And Nicobobinus landed in a pile of leaves. "Are you all right?" called Rosie, but she didn't hear any reply. Rosie couldn't hear any reply from the other side, except for the man. But the man replied, who growled, who roared, that, "Just wait, you wait, both of you." He said, "Just wait, both of you." "Oh dear," said Rosie, "sounds like trouble." Means the problem has come. They have to face a problem now. Something will be very wrong. And she was right, because problem was coming to them. Troubles were coming to them. So this was the first chapter of the story. I hope I have been able to throw some light on this story, and I hope that my explanations will help you to understand the story. uh, Next day I will discuss chapter 2. Till then, bye bye, stay well, stay safe.